It's Conor here at the ESA in Barcelona. Welcome to 2020. First video 2020, new year, new decade, new habits, new purpose. I want to share with you a book that had a huge impact on me, a book that I share with students, with participants, with anyone that's facing a question about why they're here, what their purpose is. It's a fictional book, a story written by Tolstoy. And it's a book that helps you understand how difficulties, times of crisis, the problems in your life can often be the greatest catalyst to truly find the purpose you have on this planet. And find it not just here in your head and know it rationally, but find it in a way that you're able to commit and really dedicate the resources of your life, your energy, your time to making progress forward on that purpose. I hope you take this video as a catalyst to read this book, reflect on this book, and have a great 2020 and a great decade to come. Have a good one. See you on the other side. And for this video, I wanted to share a story about a book that I often share with participants on courses, on retreats. It's called The Death of Ivan Ilych. And if you want to read a short book, it can be read in about an hour by Leo Tolstoy, the Russian author. And the story, The Death of Ivan Ilych, is the story of a man who discovers what life is really about. The short version, Conor's version of The Death of Ivan Ilych. Ivan Ilych is a judge in Russia, and for many years he has prided himself on how he follows the letter of the law. Very often he's had people in his court, and he as a judge has felt a small bit of pity for them, has felt that the law is treating them wrongly. But he's a judge, he's there to fulfill the law, and he just follows procedure and hands down judgment. And for years he's lived this way. And one day Ivan has a bit of a fall, and he bangs himself. And he waits day after day for the pain to go away, but the pain doesn't go away. And after 2 weeks of this pain remaining, he goes to a doctor. And the doctor does a series of tests. And Ivan is sitting in the doctor's office. The doctor has in front of him the set of tests. And the doctor looks towards Ivan. He doesn't look him in the eyes. And the doctor says, you're going to die, you have 2 months to live, get your affairs in order. And Ivan is devastated. But the thing that devastates him most is the way the doctor gave the news. The doctor didn't give the news to Ivan. The doctor just did his job. The doctor just followed the procedure and communicated the information. At no time did he connect with Ivan as a human being. At no time did the doctor show any empathy for Ivan in that room. The doctor just did his job. And Ivan is struck by how horrible it feels to be treated that way by someone in a position of power, and realizes a little bit of how he has lived his life. So Ivan, with this news that he has 2 months to live, he goes home. And Ivan shares the news with his wife. And his wife's first concern is that it's their daughter's wedding coming up in 2 or 3 months' time. And Ivan can see that he's having to confront that he's probably going to die. And his wife, the only thing she thinks about is how it's going to affect her and her plans and the table settings for their daughter's wedding. Ivan then tells his daughter, and she's even more upset. This is not a convenient time. This doesn't work for her plans. She's getting married. This isn't a good time. And Ivan discovers that the news that he shares with his friends of his death, none of them want to engage with him. They only will engage with what it means for them, how it impacts their life. And the only human who truly empathetically connects with Ivan and realizes the fear that he feels, the doubt that he's going through, is a servant boy who lives in the house And up till now, Ivan has hardly noticed this servant boy. This servant boy is in their house. He cleans away the toilet bowl that's underneath the bed. And this boy is the only person able to connect with what the upcoming death means for Ivan himself, to feel a bit of connection with the human being that is Ivan, what it must be like to go through this, facing your death alone. And Ivan notices that his high-placed friends stop answering his calls, because nobody wants to be around him. No one wants to have to face up to this idea that one of them is going to die, because it will force them to have to recognize that maybe their own life might come to that point. So Ivan really has a dark night of the soul, and really questions whether the way he's lived these 50 years of his life, has there been anything that he's done right? All he's done is try and fit in, try and climb the social structure, try and be what is expected of someone in society. And there's no one that is able to connect with him except a young servant boy in this moment of great need. So Ivan, what he decides to do over the 2 months that remain of his life is, there's a city park that has been stuck in planning permission for years. And everyone knows that the permission should be given. Everyone knows a park would be a great place in that neighborhood. But because no one was willing to push it, no one was willing to move it, it's just stuck in the bureaucracy. And Ivan decides that he will break the rules, push, do whatever it takes to get the license for the park and to get the park constructed in a neighborhood. And over the next 2 months, he lives his life in a totally different way. He doesn't do what is expected of him. He does what it takes to get this park permitted and built in a neighborhood. And as he's coming up to his end, the park is almost complete. The park is going to be called the Ivan Ilych Park, but he passes away. He dies before he can see the park completed. And after his death, another politician in the bureaucracy removes the name Ivan Ilych and puts his own name on the park. And as we come to the end of Tolstoy's book, The Death of Ivan Ilych, we see a couple of children playing in a park that doesn't even hold Ivan Ilych's name on the label of the name of the park. But I think what I take from this book is the most meaningful thing that is left after Ivan Ilych's life is this park. Because it's changing the life of the kids in the neighborhood. It's giving them something they would not have if Ivan had not lived. And all of the things where he just followed orders, did what was expected, none of that created something that would not exist if Ivan had not lived. Only the park, only when he went out of his way to break expectations, do what it took, did he create something that the world can truly look at and know that this would not exist if Ivan Ilych had not lived. And the kids playing in that park will probably never even know the name of Ivan. But that doesn't matter, because that wouldn't exist if Ivan hadn't passed this way through the world. When people join my company, when a student has a question about purpose and life, very often the short book that I give them to read and reflect upon is The Death of Ivan Ilych. Now I'm going to make sure that there's a link in the card above, in the description below, to more resources, and you can either buy a copy of The Death of Ivan Ilych via Amazon, or it's out of copyright, so you can get a free PDF and read it on your computer or send it to your Kindle. But I think this book really stops you and pushes you to think about what is a good use of a life. What remains? What type of projects do we want to really take on as an act that we leave the world, we leave our family, we leave our organizations better because we have passed through. So if you've read The Death of Ivan Ilych, I'd love if you'd leave a comment below about what you took from the book. If you read The Death of Ivan Ilych when you were young and in school and it just went over your head because you didn't get what this was getting at, then have a read again. It's a short book. It can be read in an hour, 2 hours. I think it's a book that anyone of any age can understand, although I think what you'll take from it at 20, at 30, at 40, at 60, at 70 will be a different lesson, because your own life experience is needed in order to fully appreciate what's in the book. If you've read the book, I have some questions. What is Ivan's purpose? How did he come to find his purpose? And what do you take from this book for your own life? Where are you in the journey of life that you see Ivan live through the course of this book? So that's my video here at the start of 2020. Rather than a wise thought, a resource of a short story from Leo Tolstoy, The Death of Ivan Ilych, that I think more than almost any other book captures the sense of, I think it was Mark Twain said, we each live 2 lives. The second one begins the day we realize we only live once. The day you start to take seriously the idea that we have a finite time in which to connect with the people that matter to us, to take up and do the projects that really matter to us. And Dandapani is a Hindu monk that I've had the privilege of meeting. He says, we all have enough time to do what is truly important, but not if we spend it on all of the unimportant things. So have a read, The Death of Ivan Ilych, and I'd love your reflections, your thoughts, your comments in the stream below and at the blog. So hey, it's Conor here in Ilyich in the big aula, the auditorium in the South Campus. It's Conor here heading home from my first day of Ilyich this year 2020. Thank you for the subscribes, the likes, the comments, for sharing your questions. Keep them coming, keep them sharing. We've reached 200,000 subscribers, and thanks to your questions, your comments, your shares, that this community keeps growing. And it really inspires me to keep sharing these videos, making my thoughts visible to a wider world than just here in this school. So have a great one. Thank you for your help in reaching 200.